Hey everybody, Carm Capriato, Remarkable Results Radio. Good to have you here. March 2025 is our 10-year anniversary in doing this. Thousands of episodes inside the Aftermarket Radio Network. Good, again, we couldn't have done this if it wasn't for everyone who is listening and hangs out and supports our great sponsors. You know, NAPA Tracks will move your shop into the SMS fast lane with on-site training and 6-day-a-week support. Also, I think the biggest thing is the local representation. Are you kidding me? NAPA Tracks on the web at NAPATRACS.com. Are you ready to roll out a training plan for your automotive shop? You ready to optimize? We'll use today's class in just 5 minutes daily, boost knowledge, retention, and improve team performance. Start seeing results today. Great gamification programs here to challenge all your people. Join your peers at todaysclass.com. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and thanks. Look, I've got a great episode for you today, and I want to introduce two people that are really going to help drive this discussion. Mike Colley, president of the ASE Educational Foundation, and George Arantz, the VP of the ASE Educational Foundation. Hi, guys.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good to have you here. Look, here's what we're going to talk about. Really critically important. And I think everyone knows I sometimes go off the deep end as it relates to why I feel it's so important to be involved in education, both in high school or post-secondary. I'm involved in the Erie Community College here in the Buffalo, New York area on the advisory panel. We just opened up a brand new training center here in Buffalo. In fact, we just saw a big article came out from Ratchet and Wrench recognizing that. And here's what I want to talk about is the shortage that we're experiencing, or why are we really experiencing this shortage? What causes turnover in your shop? Do you have a plan for retention and or continuing education? I don't like training. I love the word continuing education, by the way. I will always attempt to to stop someone who says the word training. And I say we do that with athletes, but we don't do that with specialists in the bays. It's difficult to throw the ball over and over again when sometimes the challenges we have are brand new each and every day. And we want to talk about ASE and the ASE Education Foundation and what they have to do with this thing and what your involvement in education should be to get off your butt and do something about it. Okay? Let's have some fun. Mike,
Absolutely.
Let's start us out. Is there really a technician shortage, Mike?
Well, that all depends. What's the situation in your shop? Are you sitting there with empty bays? Because more than the costs of just putting out an ad, hiring a technician, training that technician, that empty bay is costing you money every minute that it sits empty. That's lost productivity, lost part sales. So if you've got an empty bay, you have a technician shortage. On the other hand, you may have all your bays filled. You may have, all the techs you need right now. But are you looking down the road, 5 years, 10 years? How many of them are going to retire? How many of them might leave you? Do you have a turnover issue in your shop where technicians, they come but they don't stay but a couple of years? So the technician shortage, it's as real as you're experiencing in your shop. That's really the bottom line.
Yeah, you're so right. Always be recruiting. ABR is something that I talk to the top tier shop owners about. And I asked one guy the other day, guys, I said, in the top left corner of your desk, how many resumes do you have? And one of the guys, he is not lacking to hire anyone. And people want to come to work for him, but he can't hire them all at the same time. And he says, Carm, I have 30 or 40 in there. He says, and the ones that I want to bring in right away, their resumes are on top. And so he believes in the always be recruiting, and he knows that his internal people are critical to this because they work in a great environment. They love the continuing education, the career pathing that they're on. And he says they help recruit. We wear our shirts when we go out, when we go to lunch, people talk to us. They all have business cards. And to your point, Mike, it's all about that internal culture. But if there's an empty bay, it could be because we don't know how to market. We don't have a good following. We don't have a know, like, and trust factor going on inside of our in our market. That, the reason why people come there. But it does start with having good, competent specialists working in the bays.
Absolutely. And, you can hire from the shop down the street, but, and it may be you're the shop of choice in your community and people are beating down your door to get in. You're in the catbird seat, but there's not that many shops, I would argue, that are in that position. And if you're not in that position, so technicians come and they give you their resume. Well, why are they looking to leave the place where they're at right now? Are they not making any money? They're not productive. They're not happy, or they're troublemakers and they just like to jump from place to place for $1 more an hour. So sometimes you're importing a problem from another shop. That other shop owner might be, "Ooh, sayonara, happy to see you leave." So there's always a little bit of a danger factor if you're hiring, oh, I need a B Tech, I need an A Tech, and you hire the guy from down the street. You may not know what you're getting exactly. Whereas the thing that we really focus a lot on are those entry level technicians. Are you building your bench? Not the A Techs today. And everybody says, I need an A Tech, I need him yesterday. Well, the best time to get an A Tech was 5 years ago and start growing your own, because then you can bring them up in your culture and teach them your way of doing the business, and they don't come with the bad habits that they maybe picked up someplace else.
Yeah. George, Mike brings up a great point, and that whole career pathing thing, I think, is so critical today when we are saying we need an A-Tech real quick, real fast yesterday. Well, that A-Tech should have been sitting in your bay saying, ooh, 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 am I ready? Come on. What else can I do? What else should I know? What other class can I go to?
What I say is Christmas only comes once a year. You know what I mean? If you're looking for the A-Tech that's flagging 60 hours a week plus and no comebacks, well, that's great. But most of them are pretty happy where they are because, and the ones that aren't, like Mike said, I use the word, they come with baggage. You don't know if it's good or bad. You don't know when it's going to show up, but there's a reason. Yep.
100% right. Look at guys, I was honored to give my keynote, The Rise of the Mechanical and Technology Specialist, at the ASE Board of Governors last spring. And I have been since going out and doing a lot of that. And, I do believe in a language shift in our industry. Let's start calling ourselves mechanics and techs, and let's start calling us specialists in certain, different areas. Because specialists, if you will, in the medical world, keep us alive. And so do we in the bays, if you will. The nurses are on the counter and the specialists are in the bays, okay? And the thing that continues to drive me nuts, gentlemen, is the definition of an A-Tech. And stop smiling and laughing with me here, okay?
It's the same thing as what's the definition of an entry level.
That's right.
Yep.
And so we go around saying to ourselves, I need an A-Tech. I need A-Tech real bad. And it says, okay, well, what is an A-Tech to you? And if it's 60 hours, that's just one tiny little slice of a definition. It doesn't mean that they're really good, no comebacks, that they're,
right.
They're study gurus, they're journal makers, they're networked. It just means one thing: production at all costs.
That's
and
right.
It's not necessarily a good definition.
Nope.
Well, again, if they don't fit with the culture of your shop and become a disruptive, you may, I don't care how many hours they turn. If they're creating trouble for the other technicians, trouble for your service writers, trouble for your customers, that's a headache you don't need.
That's called toxicity right there.
Yeah, exactly.
And we have to be able to deal with that. And if that turnover is your problem because you're really looking to find the right people that fit into your culture, then turnover needs to happen.
Right. But too often, honestly, it's the flip side. It's the reverse of that. You have a lot of good technicians that would love to find a place where they're treated well. George, what was the research? What are technicians looking for primarily?
So in the Voice of the Technician survey that we did with Wrenchway, number one, 89% of the technicians said
it was money.
No.
No, it wasn't money. What was it?
It wasn't money. proper equipment in the shop. How's that?
Ding, ding, ding.
89%. That's
So
what
they're
they
looking
said.
for a place that treats them right, provides the training, has the tools and equipment for them to do the job that they love doing every day. And
Yep.
it's not about the money.
Yep.
So, and what do you say, George? If somebody leaves you, what does that say about me if somebody left me?
If somebody quits your organization, what that's saying is the unknown is better than staying with you. Think about that. And that's what we have to look at. Every time you hear on your show or whatever, I lost a tech for 50 cents more an hour or whatever. No, you didn't. My response is, why were they looking in the first place? People that are happy in their job are not looking. Those that are unhappy are. And if you've been a technician like I have, you don't wake up one morning and say, I'm done. It festers inside of you for a long period of time because you have to figure out how to move that toolbox, and then you make that decision. But you are going to an unknown. And most of our turnover problem is bad culture. And that's when people have to look in the mirror and realize the problem is theirs.
In that survey,
honestly,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
well, I was just going to say, that's technicians that have been around for 5, 10, 20 years. They know they can get a job. They know they can work here. They can work there. And then it's a question of, can I live with that service manager? Can I live with that service manager? But it's the entry level techs that we really worry about because they spend 2, 3, 4 years of their life getting that initial education based on the promise that we've told them there are great careers in this industry. And don't get me wrong, there are great careers in this industry. It's a wonderful industry. You can make a lot of money whether you're turning wrenches or any of all the different job opportunities that are available to you if you know the difference between a ball joint and a tie rod. So great opportunities, and yet we see technicians come in and then 2 years later they ghost us. And they don't just ghost us. They don't go to the shop down the street. They're working at Starbucks. They're maybe went to welding. They're doing, HVAC, something. They're not turning wrenches. They're not in our industry. We've lost them forever.
Yeah.
What do we call that, George?
We're
eating our young.
We're eating our young. Yeah, that's what it is. We're eating our young. And Carm, I know you've heard this a million times. And here's the scenario. I hired this young kid out of this high-powered tech school. He rolls in his brand new red toolbox. Put him on a job the first day and he screwed it up. Well, did he? Or was he trained to do it the right way and you circumvent the process to get the customer's vehicle out? But more importantly, did anybody in your organization tell them how you do it and show them how to do this? No. So there was no mentoring. You just threw them to the wolves and you ate them alive. And guess what? All of that work that all of us have done to get that person to your shop, you just blew it in the first day.
And you didn't just blow it for you. You blew it for the whole industry.
For the whole industry.
Way to go.
And mentoring, I'm sorry, these days we have to mentor. And mentoring isn't, hey, Bobby, this kid's coming in an hour. Make sure he doesn't die. You know what I mean? Mentoring has to be determined and trained. But when you're even looking for somebody in your organization to be a mentor, 2 questions you have to ask that individual. 1, do you like working for us? And 2, do you like working in our industry? And if they can't answer yes to those 2 questions, why would you put them on a young technician who's eager to be in our industry and be part of the career path? No, you don't want that person anywhere near that young person.
Yeah, with that poisonous attitude, they're just going to poison that young mind. You're pouring the Tabasco, you're going to eat that kid.
Let me summarize this last 3 minutes of discussion. Here's what hit me so hard is the word evaluate.
Right.
Okay. The individual comes in from the trade school, top dog, got the best guy. Okay. We're so excited. And it's like talk to the hand, the face ain't listening. You cannot abdicate how that individual fits into your business without evaluation. It's almost like you've done the interview to find out if there's a cultural fit. Now do the on-the-job interview to find out competency, career pathing, further education, and find out, what do you love to do? The guy says, I love brakes. Okay, bing, bing, bing. We know where this person can fit. Show me you can. The school of show me. And to your point, Department of Transportations are taking our people. And in fact, when the dealers take these young people out of the trade school and they put them on the lube bays, they get disenchanted because they're there for almost a year sometimes.
2 years.
Yeah, I know exactly right, George, and they're gone.
They're gone.
So if we need to get up on our little bitty stool, and listen, you guys are in schools all day long. The ASE Educational Foundation, by the way, Mike Colley, president, and George Rance, vice president of the ASE Education Foundation, you're in there all the time. But we, as independent shop owners, need to be there with you.
That's right.
And I'm not saying that you have great relationships with GM and Ford and the whole industry, but I guess I'm selfish because my podcast broadcasts to the independents. And
That's
so
where I started.
I'm always going to get on my soapbox and say, get off your butt and go visit a school or find out from ASE when they're going to be in there next. Go in shoulder to shoulder, talk to the young people, get them interning in your place, and help us bring this entire industry up to a brand new and next level.
So, Carm, you're spot on. Two things that we've learned over the last 5 years through our student surveys. Number one, the number one reason for a young person in a high school automotive program to not take the next course offered in succession is not schedule conflict. It's no defined career path. How sad is that? We're leaving the career path up to the person in the front of the classroom. Then the really sad part is we ask the students, did you have guest speakers? And they say yes. Number 3 is employers. Number 5 is former students. All of you shop owners, you're both personal and professional taxpayers in your community. Why would you let these people spend your money without your input? But more importantly, do they know who you are? Do they know your brand? Do they know what you represent? And the only way to do that is you got to go to the school or have them come tour your shop as a class trip. How many of you been to a career fair when you were just a blanket or a tablecloth with useless trinkets? The reason is they don't know who you are. You're just another person with useless trinkets. But the employers that have been involved in the school and come in as guest speakers, and the guest speaker doesn't need to look like me, doesn't need to be a gray hair or no hair, needs to be somebody that they can relate to, somebody in your shop that's young or maybe even went to that school.
Yeah.
And talk about what it's done for them. You have to drive your brand just like any other company out there. And if you don't, you're going to get what you've always got, and it's nothing good.
Hey, let's face it. Your shop management system is the single most important tool in your shop, period. NAPA Trax has made selecting the right shop management system easy by offering the industry's best, most comprehensive SMS. Now, it all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you need to run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice, and having local representation is a huge plus. Customizing Trax to your business, whether you're a one-person shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company, a representative consults with you to help optimize your shop's workflow, efficiency, and profitability. Trax always has the flexibility to do business how you need to do it, which means it can also grow as your business grows. And unlike the other guys, we'll be there for you after installation with the best training and support in the business. Yes, a learning management system tailored to each role in your company. Simply put, Trax was designed and built for shop owners just like you. Visit us on the web at NAPA Trax, that's NAPATRACS.com. Transform your team with today's class, where automotive training is easy, quick, and fun. Just 5 minutes a day on our app can eliminate hours of looking up forgotten information later. It's perfect for technicians, advisors, and managers alike. Keep critical knowledge fresh and top of mind, ensuring your team operates at peak efficiency. Today's class is impactful, accessible from anywhere, and a bit of fun too, and we're not talking about after-hours pizza either. For training that gets results, turn to todaysclass.com. I'm a member of an independent group here in the Buffalo, Western New York area, and we're at every one of our college's career fairs twice a year. And we have this big, beautiful table, and we get trinkets, yes, from the suppliers and the manufacturers, but the owners are there. There's like 4 or 5 independent shop owners, and they'll spend the entire day. And we'll grab resumes, and then we actually will take, if you give us a resume, we're going to pick at the end of the day some of these really cool trinkets that we've got for them. And we have then passed around whoever shows up as an independent gets the photocopy of the resume. It's a wonderful thing to start building and discussing and talking and encouraging.
Yep. So, and as you know, Carm, you probably experienced this. You ask a shop owner, why aren't you involved in your local school? Well, I tried that once 10 years ago, and it was a disaster. Really? One and done? That's your philosophy? Come on. You know what I mean? But also, was it your fault? You know what I mean?
I've heard, some independent folks say, well, that advisory committee, that's mostly dealers that are on there. Well, I'm like, it's for dealers, it's for independents, it's for the chain
Fleet.
stores, it's for everybody. Fleets, the parts store, everybody that needs employees in this business all have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
And they all have valuable input to give the school and support to give the school. And, come talk to the students, have the students come out and job shadow in your shop, give them a tour, show them equipment, show them new technology. There's tons of things that you can do. Obviously, putting them to work after school, part-time in the summer, eventually getting them into the internships and apprenticeships. That's the thing you want to build toward. And we shouldn't take a backseat to anybody.
Yeah. Why is the dealer there? Hello.
Yep.
Duh. And so when I was involved in it, in the 90s. And then I went off and did something different. And then I came back about 6-7 years ago, and there were only like two independents. And now I think we're up to 5. The dealers have these executives that, they can go out and spend the time and hang out. And every career fair, every big dealership's got beautiful big displays. Sometimes they have games to play and stuff. I mean, they're collecting resumes like I eat popcorn at a movie.
Right.
They're in consumption mode. We have to find our place at the table.
And that's not showing up in March, April, May for the career fair. That's showing up in August and September at the beginning of the school year.
That's right.
Getting them started off right. And what supplies do you guys need? And hey, we're going to sponsor T-shirts, or we've got ideas to improve the program. I want to come spend time with you. Oh, I'm going to send one of my technicians to teach you about this new scan tool, whatever. Getting involved with the school all year long. It's not like George said, it's not a one and done. And it's sure not showing up late in the school year and saying, give me your best people, because those best people are probably already spoken for.
And something that we haven't touched on, but I think it's important, is the 3 of us grew up at a time where mom and dad had the same last name. That's not common today. Many of these young people are from economically disadvantaged homes. They may have one good parent. And when they're looking for a place to work or a career path, they're looking to be part of a family. That's what they're looking for. And a lot of times, an independent shop is perfect for what they need. But you have to understand that when we were younger, we worked part-time to put gas in our car. This generation, they're working part-time to put food on the table for a brother or sister, or sometimes they are a major contributor to the family household. We have to understand that. And the commitment level of that young person is very high. But they have to start with what we would call a livable wage. Here in Texas, your number one competitor is Buc-ee's. If you've ever been to a Buc-ee's, the whole career path is right there on the sign before you walk in. You know what I mean? And these young people have invested a lot of times 2 or 3 years in learning our trade. And all they know is that shop class. They need to see your facility. They need to meet your people through, like Mike said, shadowing activities and others. But if they latch on, those folks will stay with you a long time because that's what they're looking for.
Well,
Absolutely.
guys, you're out there, you're in the field, you're in the street, you're in the schools, you're talking to these curriculum chairmen, what does ASE and ASE, the Educational Foundation, have to do with all the things we're talking about?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Harm. So ASE was started back in the 70s because, frankly, there was a threat of the government coming in and licensing automotive repair. And the industry said, we think we can do a better job identifying the technicians that are knowledgeable. And honestly, you know, when they did the initial research, certainly there were people that were doing auto repair, but more often than, you know, just a rip-off artist, it turned out it was a technician that wasn't properly trained, or it was a technician that wasn't as knowledgeable as they needed to be to service the vehicles. Well, fast forward 50 years, and you know, the technology, not only has it gone up, but it changes faster and faster and faster and faster. So now, if you're not doing continuous education, if you're not reinventing yourself, learning the new technology, you're becoming a dinosaur every single day, right? So this industry is one that demands that you're doing continuous upgrading of your skill. Well, how do you know, what do I know and what do I don't know? Research has shown again and again and again, we are terrible. We are terrible at evaluating our own skills. You either overestimate or you underestimate. You know, how am I going to get the right education? How am I going to know that I'm keeping up? Well, ASE was created as a voluntary program to allow people to assess themselves. If I know enough, if I'm knowledgeable enough, and what's that judged against? The yardstick is what the industry says, and we bring in experts from OEMs, aftermarkets, all brands, all types, and say, what does a technician need to know to fix brakes? What does a technician need to know to fix heating and AC, electrical, steering and suspension, on and on? That's what's on the test, not trick questions, not magical zebras or anything else. And that allows you then to evaluate, am I where I need to be, or do I need to go back and get some more training? Because honestly, that's what ASE is really designed to do, is to drive you back to education, continuing education. But we don't sell it. We don't sell training. We don't sell continuing education. We don't sell curriculum. We're an independent third party. So, you know, sometimes some people will say, hey, use our test, use our certification, whatever. In many cases, they're the people that are also providing the training or providing the continuing ed, or they're selling the curriculum. Well, you know, then they're not an objective third party at that point. And so we think that it's very important. ASE is that objective third party that's a yardstick for both entry-level technicians and journeyman technicians. So what the Education Foundation does is provide a similar yardstick, but it's for the schools. And what is that yardstick comprised of? Well, it's standards that go into, you know, what are the ingredients that make a good automotive program? Well, let's see, I ought to have an instructor that knows something about automotive. I ought to have a facility that's got the right tools and equipment and enough of it for the number of students I've got. I should have a decent budget. I should have an administration that supports me, and on and on and on. So some basic educational stuff, but moreover, again, remember that changing technology. Are you keeping up? Because there are plenty, sadly, there are plenty of places in this country where you can go and sign up for auto at the local high school and come out knowing how to change your oil and maybe how to rotate tires, but not enough to get a job because it's really just a hobby shop. And you tinkered with Mr. Smith's 68 Mustang and you learned how to overhaul a carburetor. Hate to tell you, but that ain't a useful job skill in today's market. So what we do is we say to the industry, what does the student need to know to come get a job in your shop? And then we tell the schools, this is what you need to be teaching, and have the tools and equipment and curriculum that align with those standards to teach it. And so the whole goal is to get industry and education on the same page with the accreditation standards. And again, we don't sell it. We don't sell the training. We don't sell the curriculum. We're an objective third party that is just there to help you identify, where are we doing good, where could we do better? And also drive that connection between those local shop owners and the school, because ultimately we have a national problem. We have a shortage of skilled technicians coming into our industry. And there are plenty of other industries that would love to take anybody that knows which end of a wrench to pick up and how to use a DVOM. They can get a job a lot of places. And if we don't get them, somebody else is going to get them. So, but that national problem has a local solution. That's you, the local business owner, getting involved with your school and helping those students, whether they come to work for you right out of school or they go to work for the shop down the street. Hey, maybe in 3 or 4 years, you'll hire that kid. So, but if we don't get them in our industry, they're gone forever. And if we get them in our industry and we eat our young because we have bad culture and don't onboard students well, then again, they're lost to our industry forever. So ASE and ASE Education Foundation, people may say, why should I care about that accreditation thing? We don't use ASE in our shop. Well, shame on you, because ASE is a great thing in your shop that you can use to help your technicians identify what are their training needs. But moreover, you can use it as part of your recognition program to recognize the technicians that study, keep up, really apply themselves. And Carm, you know this because you talk about it all the time. That pride that goes with being a specialist. Like, I know stuff that not everybody knows. I'm able to do stuff not everybody's able to do. ASE is that proof on your shoulder. It's the proof on the wall that shows I know this specialty, and it elevates the profession and raises the pride.
Yeah, George, I want to get you in here in a minute, but I got to button tail myself on top of Mike's comments. I love the word credentialed, by the way, instead of the word certified. I was at a specialty medical place in a waiting room, and I looked over to the side, and there's this little poster that says this facility has been credentialed by. And it was so, of course, I had to take a picture of it because I knew I was coming on with you two guys today. To the point is that we aren't doing enough as an independent industry to get into the schools to talk about the value that ASE has, if you believe that ASE is a critical part of your business and you make sure you're hiring people and keeping them certified. And then if you're at your counter and your service specialists, your service advisors have credentials, they can say, listen, my ASE credentialed specialist, is going to work on your car. And what is an ASE credentialed specialist? Continuing education program. We verify they continue to keep up with the knowledge base that's incredible. You know how quickly the technology on your vehicle is changing, et cetera, et cetera. There's so much great things to talk about in our industry, but we seem to take lazy pathways and lazy language to try to prove to people why they need to know, like, and trust us. We say this over and over again. It's like drill a hole in somebody's head and pour some of this passion inside of it. That's what I want.
Well, and it's like electricity. A lot of people take the path of least resistance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is not the way to do it. And with our accreditation, let's be honest, we'll impact over 118,000 students in our programs this year. And we only make up about 45% of the total programs in the U.S. Yeah. So anybody thinks that we have a shortage of interest in our industry is clearly living in a cloud somewhere. We have a lot of young people and adults and second career folks that are interested in our industry. They're investing in their education. It's our job to make sure that we provide them with a good pathway and a good work environment in order to make that career successful. That's what it's all about. It's our job.
And again, sadly, we have too many hobby shops in this country where their students are spending a couple of 3 years of their life thinking they're going to get skills that they can use to get a job. And we desperately need them in the industry, and they're not coming out with those skill sets. So if somebody says, why should I bother with accreditation? That sounds like a lot of work for the school and a lot of work for the instructor, my buddy, a lot of work for me. I'm on the advisory committee. I got to go in there. And it's like, I don't know. Anything worthwhile, I guess, requires a little effort, right? Yep. And what we always say to that is, whether you have ASE certification or not, don't you think that an education program ought to be aligned to industry standards?
Right.
Absolutely.
You know,
I got to stop you because you guys are inspiring my think here. And if I don't say this, I'm going to lose it. Remember a few minutes ago, I said we need to evaluate the people that come in and find out what they really know and then set them on this. When we're in the schools and we're in career path days and we're speaking to students and we're involved in education, we need to elevate, there's another E word, elevate expectations of our students so that they don't go to the hobby shop and get disenchanted.
Right. Agreed. And, to Mike's
but
point,
again,
yep.
you can have so you have a hobby shop. Who's going to break that mold? Because the Mr. Smith down here, he's running his shop. The principal doesn't know what's going on in there. They don't make any trouble for him. He's just happy to leave it alone. The local industry has to be the accountability partner that comes in and says, I want to hire kids coming out of your school, but they're not learning the right stuff. They're not being taught the right things. You don't have the right tools. You don't have the right equipment. You don't have the right curriculum. Your instructor's not up to date. And you have to step up, and it's just like looking in the mirror. It's helping the school look in the mirror and identify. And it's not about beating people up necessarily, because even a good program, there's always room to improve. And that's really what accreditation is. The standards are really the floor. And how do we get a little, and you know this in your shop, how do we get a little bit better this week, this month, this year, year over year over year, and do it a little bit better? And that's getting feedback from the employers that are hiring the students coming out of the programs. That's getting feedback from those students who graduated from the program. What did you learn? And when you got to working in the industry, what did you wish you would have learned while you were still here? Asking those kinds of questions, little incremental improvements in your program that, again, you're helping the next generation of students do better and better and better. And then we all win.
I don't know about you guys if you're listening, but I could just feel that Mike and George have fun doing what they do.
So, Carm, I'm going to say it best. We get to influence the people we'll never meet, and somebody's paying us to do it. It doesn't get any better than that. We have the ability to change the lives of young people interested in our career path. And
Yeah,
it's great. But we also need the industry to get involved with their local school. And Carm, pretty quick, if you walk into a high school or a community college program, in 5 or 10 minutes what's going on in there. And to Mike's point, if there's a bunch of old cars in there, or it's personal storage of the instructor, or the cars have been there so long they get their mail there, that's a problem. You know what I mean? And that's where industry needs to step in, because it's your money they're spending. And also, these people have invested in our industry. It's our job to make sure there's a clear pathway for them, just like there was for us.
I love this episode. This was great. And I'll just maybe help tuck this thing up by saying that as an independent group, we've been visiting skilled trade centers in the area. And what the high schools do is they send their students, to one kind of regional school.
Right.
And this past about 5-6 months ago, we went in and all the students had beautiful uniforms on, the kind of uniforms that they would wear at a high level place. And when the independents came in, the teacher invited all the students to come around and hover around and ask questions. We found that the educational culture inside these two particular automotive shops in the skilled trade centers was off the charts. And these young people wanted to learn. And we love, not every school is like this, but we found an exceptional facility that was all about making sure that these young people that wanted to come in to learn this realized that there was something much bigger than learning to change your oil.
That's it.
And you're so right about it. Listen, I think there's so much in here. I want to wrap this up. Mike, George, ASE Educational Foundation. The message is strong here. Get involved. spread the gospel, if you will, about, what this field is about. And if you're listening and you don't have a commitment to ASE, you don't have a good commitment to the culture in your business, find a way to fix it. And there's millions of places, and especially all the episodes that we've done on every aspect of growing a great business, becoming a great leader, and all the great discussions we have about ASE. So, Mike, George, I'm going to give you a final word here. Just sum this thing up. Mike Colley, president of the ASE Educational Foundation. Mike, your last words here.
Well, we started out talking about the problem is too much turnover. I have a technician shortage primarily because I hire a guy, he doesn't, 2 years later, he's gone, and maybe he's gone from the whole industry. ASE certification, it's a hallmark of professionalism. We found things like ASE certified technicians have 40% higher productivity, 60% fewer comebacks, 20% higher technician pay, and most importantly, 30% lower turnover. So making ASE certification part of your shop culture, part of the way you do business, part of what the expectation for your technicians to do their continuing education and remain ASE certified, that's going to reduce your turnover. That's going to help solve your technician shortage right there.
Well said, Mike. George, take us to the finish line here.
ASE accredited programs is really about national standards and ensuring that the program has all the resources it needs. You being involved in industry ensures that those are there. When it comes to culture, it's pretty simple. If you can't see your children or your grandchildren working in your shop, neither can I.
The thing I love about George, he says so few words, but they're so damn impactful. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, George, for being on the show. I so appreciate this, and great messaging here. Take it home and do something with it. Appreciate you guys being here.
Thanks, Carm.
Thanks, Carm.